The talk today is going to be on offline mobile apps built with Ionic and MobileCaddy, having a Salesforce backend, which hopefully isn't going to be a surprise to anyone here. My name's Todd Halfpenny. As Anoop said, I'm Mobile Technical Architect at MobileCaddy, and we have a toolkit for partners to build and manage mobile apps for Salesforce. So let's crack on. Oh, feel free to raise any questions as I go, or we'll hopefully try and catch them at the end if I don't overrun too much. All right. So I did a talk at London Schooling a couple of weeks back. If you didn't go, then you need to get ready for the next one. It was Europe's biggest community Salesforce event and was brilliant. And my talk was entitled "Only the Paranoid Mobile Apps Survive," which is something that we kind of came up with at MobileCaddy when we were faced with helping our clients build mobile apps. And really this is about, if your app isn't thinking about a lot of things, then you're going to trip up and fall over, and your app's going to be, well, it's just going to stop working, which means your business is going to be losing money, and that's obviously a bad thing. And off the back of this saying, we came up with this Moore's design, which is kind of some, I suppose, like a high-level concepts you think about when you go to approach a mobile app. The M is for mobile, but users really, not mobile first. It's all about your users. They could be on phones or tablets. They could be on their laptops traveling to and from work. They could be in an airport departure lounge. Like a lot of our users, whether they're employees or community users, are always on the move. So it's about them. And mobile apps need to be offline first, really. This is different from being offline. They need to be able to work regardless of whether they've got patchy connectivity or no connectivity. This means they need to have their logic, they need to have their data, and they need to have information about, let's say you're going to create a master detail record. You need to know about the relationships, you need to know about metadata. All this stuff needs to be offline, not just your, your details for the data. And of course, if your app's going offline and coming offline, it's not just you, it's other members of your team. When the data comes up to the platform, we've got to think about how does that affect the platform? What happens if two people have changed the same record? They might have changed them kind of minutes apart, but they came online in a different order. What do you do about conflict resolution? What do you do if you're, I know somebody in the office has deleted an account and you've updated a lead? You don't want to be kind of just throwing data away because it's important. That could be money for your business. So you need to be robust. With all of this, you want to be efficient as much as you can. You don't want to be sending up masses of data to and from the cloud because it costs battery, it costs, data charge, it costs time, and obviously processing on the platform as well, which is, although we think is quite a lot there, we need to be careful about it as well. I think, so I did this talk and it's available on the London Schooling YouTube channel, as well as all the other talks. You should go and check them out because they're pretty good. You'll consume many hours of your time. Very valuable time it will be as well. Whoops. So today, yes, what we're going to do is we're going to run through building a mobile app with this kind of app stack. So it's going to be a JavaScript hybrid mobile app. Are people in here familiar with hybrid apps and what they are generally? A couple of head shakes. So I'll run over quickly. We're going to be using mobile web technologies to build a web app, and then we're going to be wrapping up in a bundle that can be used by the native layers on your phone, so your Apple phones and your Android phones and your tablets and Windows and whatnot. We're actually going to be using the AngularJS framework and something called Ionic framework on top of that. Although we could be using any JavaScript framework really in our instance here. But we're using Ionic because they've done a lot of work in terms of making it performant for mobiles. Our backend is going to be Salesforce, and we're going to be using the accounts and contacts objects there. And we're going to be building an account and contacts explorer. Woo! It's a highly exciting app, but hopefully it'll give you some idea of where we're getting to and the concepts that can be taken forward. And then I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't use MobileCaddy as the glue layer here. And this will be providing an interface between the JavaScript code we write and the platform layer, and handling all the really boring stuff, so encryption, authentication, offline stuff, conflict resolution, all those really boring things you don't really want to be doing day to day. MobileCaddy will be doing all of that, so we can focus on our business logic of our exciting Accounts and Contact Explorer. I meant to have said anything else. No, don't think so. So to give you an idea of what you could do instead of a boring Accounts and Contact Explorer, this is an app that was built by one of our partners for Diesel Retail. They didn't sponsor my clothing, which is unfortunate. Well, the logo is quite nice, isn't it? And this is an app for Diesel Retail for people who'd visit stores, and then they would kind of review them for how their sales stuff looks, how their product lines are, how their staff were. And they rolled this out in the UK, and following success, it's now being pushed out to Europe. And you can see here, it looks nothing like Salesforce. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. We all love Lightning. Welcome to 1995. But it's pretty cool, right? It's pretty funky. So this is what you can do. We're not going to do this today. We don't have the time. Unless you don't want to see Keir speak, in which case we could probably give it a go. No chance. So our process, what we're going to do is we're going to define our application on the platform using the MobileCaddy package. We're going to say this is our app. We're going to mobilize our two objects into mobilized tables. We're then going to create a base JavaScript project. And then we're going to build that up to list the accounts, and then see an account detail page. We're then going to list contacts for that account. We're then going to deploy the application that we're writing to Salesforce, which means it can be then run by any of our colleagues who have access to the org. And it also means it can then be run on a device offline. Woo! So that's what we're going to try and do. I'll try and keep up with this. So platform config. What we're going to do is we're going to define our application, and we're going to mobilize our tables. So I'm going to have to use my mouse, so sorry for turning my back on you. I'll try not to do that too much. So this is my developer Salesforce instance. I got that, that's the beautiful Spring 16. I go to my MobileCaddy app on here, and what I can see is I've got, hope you can read this. Hopefully the screens aren't too small. What I've got is some mobile applications listed. Because I was scared of the demo gods, I've created an Accounts and Contact Explorer record already. I did sacrifice 2 interns this morning to them, but you never know with the demo gods. So what I'm going to do is quickly show you what I could do if it's all working. I'll click Create New Mobile Application, and then I can enter a name, some description, and this is really very basic. I can enter kind of which of my users will get the application or are available to get the application, and also which OSs can access it. So I could say, okay, this is only for Android in this instance. Like I said, I'm not going to do that because I'm scared things will break. So I'm going to jump into my Blue Peter style application I've already written. And so there's a lot to this. There's a lot of configuration that you can do on your application. I don't want to run into all of that now because it's going to take some time, and what we really want to do is get building. But essentially I'm going to jump into the metadata for my app in terms of my mobile tables. You can see here I've got 1, 2, 3. Don't know how many times I've practiced this demo. A few of the I think my mic's gone. Is it a problem if I just shout? Is that okay? Yeah. Is that good? Okay, we'll do that. That gives my left hand free so I can do that. I've got my list of tables mobilized here, including an account and a contact one that I've done. And to mobilize another table, I can just click Create New Mobile Table. I should thank our CTO for naming that button. He did a brilliant job. Let's say we're going to mobilize contact again, our contact object. I'll click on there. I then get a list of which contacts, that's the one I want. I think I've got to call this something like contact 11 because I've done this so many times. And what it then gives me is some options about how I want to mobilize this table. And I get a refresh only, submit only, or dynamic as the options. Refresh only means that really my device is only interested in pulling data down from the platform. so I'm not wasting any information and pushing it back up. This is useful for kind of standing data, that kind of thing. The second option for submit only is when I'm going to be creating records on the device and pushing them to the platform, and I'm not so interested about putting stuff down again. So it might be if I'm creating like feedback items or something like that. Oh, cheers, thank you. There we go. Oh, I've lost my left hand again. I don't know what to do. And the third option is dynamic, which means that I might be creating some records, but also pulling records down to the same object. This is a very common type. So let's choose that one. Dynamic, create member table. I then get a list of fields that are pre-mobilized for me that I can't do anything about. These are probably familiar with those: name, ID, all sorts of bits and pieces. But I can then choose the other fields that I might want to mobilize. Here I've got account ID, and I can then choose the CRUD settings per field that I want to be applied here. So I could say, for example, in my contact, I want to be able to create a new contact and create this account ID field, but I don't want to ever change it. So I can select read. Yeah, I want to read it. Update. No. This one, let's say I don't want to be in charge of the phone number, so I'll do that. And then select table rows. And pretty much that's it. I've mobilized that object now, and it's ready to be used by our mobile application that we're going to build right now. Hopefully that was quite simple. Other things you can list against the fields here is I can say, well, what happens in a conflict situation? Should it be the last updated value that was used, or is it the last? Is it done on a record level or field level, or is it always a platform? If a record was changed on the platform, does that one win? Or all that kind of stuff is available, but I don't really care about that now. Lost my mouse. No. Cool. Yeah, some code. Initiate our JavaScript project. So we have a CLI tool for doing this. I don't know if you can read that. It says MobileCaddy new, and then I pass it a template name. There are multiple templates available. This is going to be for like a tabbed interface app, and I'm going to call it my app. Now I'm going to jump into some code. This is where it could all go horribly wrong. Can I highlight that? Yes. Oh, that's good. Put that into my terminal. I'm hoping people are familiar with using command line at all. Anyone ridiculously scared of it? No? Excellent. I'll leave that running then so we can all bask in its beauty. Actually, I won't, because this is going to take ages on this Wi-Fi here. Although thank you, Deloitte, for their Wi-Fi. So I've got a project that I've already created. Looks exactly like the one I just did. And I have this kind of folder structure. If you've ever done a JavaScript application before, it looks very much like this. Whole load of stuff to do with my build tools, and then I have a www folder, which is where I'm going to be writing my JavaScript, putting my CSS, and any images and assets and stuff like that. Not very exciting, so we won't worry too much about it. But what we can do now is, now that I've got this, I can actually run my project up against Salesforce. With this command here. So I'm using the MobileCaddy CLI again. I'm saying MobileCaddy serve, set up a server, scrub equals full, which means I'm going to tell it to kill all my authentication data and my other data I might have used previously. And like I said, I've run this many times, so we want to do that. What now should happen is I should get a, here we go. Oh yes, look at that. Dun, dun, dun. Let me just quickly put it in a nice, oh. Choose, what phone choose? iPhone 5. Yeah, that looks cool. Let's do that. Oh, look. I got the. So the question I think was, is that a simulator? So here, actually, all we're doing is we're running really just the web app in the Chrome browser, and and we've got a whole load of mocks set up to mock some of the platform or the device, so when it's running on the device. So this is for our build process, and we're doing it here because to push stuff up and then test on the device is quite slow, and here we can have like a rapid build circle. Something should have happened here. Sorry, one second. What happened? Oh, it kicked me. It kicked me out. Okay. So when I run this up, I'm authenticating now to my developer org. Hopefully I put the right details in. And it's pulling down all that metadata that we had in all those mobile tables. And I've now got a mobile application, or an application running here with tabs, which is what I wanted. And this is based off the template project. So I haven't coded anything yet, which you might have seen. But I have an app now running that has 2 tabs. This home tab with nothing in, which is cool, and then a settings area that we'll cover some of that later. Actually, what I could do here is I've got another tool here, and this is going to connect up to my Salesforce instance and then give me some information about my app and the Salesforce org. And we can see that at 1917, I did a new install of this app, and I can click that and it takes me to some information about it. That's all quite good. And what I can do is I can have a look at another tool and see what data my app currently has from Salesforce. So this is called the CodeFlow control panel. Fancy name, because it does some fancy stuff. And you can see here that I've got accounts and a contacts table. Hopefully you can read that. And if I click in there, we can see that it's brought down all the metadata from the platform, telling me the data types, my CRUD settings that we applied. But I don't have any data yet. That's okay. We don't need any yet, I suppose. So there we have an app running against Salesforce in just a few minutes. Where's my slides? Not there. Let me kill that. Oh, I've done that already. Cool, brilliant. So now let's get on to some code, and what we're going to do is we're going to write some JavaScript, or we're going to write some single-page app code to list our accounts that will come down from Salesforce. And Angular uses a model viewer controller type setup. People are familiar with MVC? Mostly nods, that's good. And in Angular, we've got our model, which is our data, our view, which is essentially our HTML and CSS, and then we have our controller, which is all the JavaScript we're going to write. I think there's nothing really more to say about MVC, but let's do that. So on our view, our template file, what we're going to do is we're going to write some markup like this. I say we're going to write. I've written it. We're going to use markup like this for our accounts listing page, and what we've got is, can you all read that? Is that too small? I don't know, everyone's looking at the screens now. Here we go. How's that? Is that better? That was worth the 5 minutes, wasn't it, of sitting there awkwardly. Got to talk to the person next to me. So what we've got is this HTML file, which is a template file in Angular terms, and we're setting up a view, and we're going to call it accounts, because that's what we're going to do, list the accounts, and it's going to be a list of something called item, or ion item, and basically we're going to iterate over account in our vm.accounts magical object. We don't know what that is yet. And for each of those, we're just going to output a heading 3 of the account name. This is all getting really exciting now. Bum, bum, bum. So that's our view part. I can skip that, it's pretty rubbish. And that one, we don't need that. And then I get to the controller piece. And what our controller is going to do is some kind of pseudocode. This is a JavaScript. We're going to show some. Oh, you don't want to see that, do you? Is that big enough? That's better. Ooh. What we're going to do is we're going to show some loading dialogue with lovely stuff in. And whilst that's showing, we're going to call something called account service, and we're going to get all of accounts. And when that accounts returns, we're going to send it to this accounts object. Nothing much to it, really. Oh, and then we're going to hide our loading dialog, which should be good fun. And we'll get our list of accounts. And all of this will come from our accounts service, which is that all we just called. And in here, we're going to do something very simple called the MobileCaddy libraries. Can you read me the records for this account table that we mobilized? And when they come back, can you send that back to my controller for me? So nothing too much. We're going to go and ask something for accounts, come back and put it into our template. Let's give that a go. Another Blue Peter moment. Some code I wrote earlier. So we're going to run our app up again. Now we've written our code. Once again, we're going off to the platform. We're going to ask it about stuff. I've got to be honest, I didn't think that would happen. I wasn't meant to have any accounts yet. I must have worked too hard. What we can see has happened is we've pulled our accounts down and listed them in here. And over in my tooling, we can see that the platform I asked did a refresh for account and a refresh for contact. And hey presto, they magically appeared. So all this information, the metadata and this data is now available on my device for offline usage. It's not on my mobile device, obviously it's just my browser. But we'll get to that. So I now need to work out why I've got accounts. I didn't think I did that yet. What we also need to do is we need to run an initial sync to the platform. Say, right, cool, go and get me my data, bring it down, and show it to me. And that's what we've done, and we can see it there. That's pretty good. Then what we're going to do is we're going to add a details page to our account. And each one, we're just going to see the name of the account, nothing too special, in our new view. And for that, we're going to have to write another controller, which manipulates the view and gets the data from the service, which is our encrypted store of data. And we need another function in our service to say, hey, I want the account details for this particular ID. Can you go and get it for me? And here we're using like a SOQL query to get the data, so we're just getting the one record that we want. Yeah, let's try that. So hopefully that worked. So I'm refreshing my app now after writing all that lovely code. We can see I had another new install, and it's going off to fetch my data again. It's asked for my accounts and my contacts, and the data appears over here. Hopefully this time I can now click on an account. Hey, it's like magic. We've now got a blank page that just says, oh, there's his Gene Points contacts. I don't know how many times I've looked at Gene Points contacts over the past week. Bloody millions. But there's nothing else on here yet, and that's because we haven't implemented our list of contacts. So let's do that. What we're going to now do is, as we did earlier when we listed the accounts, we're going to have another kind of iterative list of contacts in some magical object called contacts, and we're going to output the name and the title, and then a couple of buttons that allow us to call out to the native email or native dialer, so we can call them or email them or whatever. And we're going to write some code for our controller and our service. I should say at this point, all the code for this is available on our public Git repo, as well as the slides, so don't worry about trying to write any of this stuff down that you can't see. Here's step 4. Let's go back. And then we're going to run our app up again. We've got another new install, and we're fetching our accounts and we're fetching our contacts, blah, 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 all that happy stuff. So on the right here is a whole load of developer output that we can use to debug, to check things are working as we want. That's another talk. So when I click in, oh no, what the deuce? What have I done? Have I not checked out the right stuff? I don't know, let's try that again. I might have clicked refresh too soon before my build tool's finished. Sorry, one more time. Here we go. Hey, we've got Edna now, which is cool. She doesn't have a mobile phone number, but she does have email, so we've got a grayed out phone and an email button. So that's it, our app is getting there now. We've got offline contacts, offline accounts, and we can use them. Brilliant. All looking good, but not too exciting. We want to be able to edit this now because that's where offline really comes into play. Viewing stuff is all cool, and I think you can do a lot of that in SF1, but we're way beyond that now. Let's go edit stuff. I was hoping there's going to be a step 5. There is. So okay, in a minute you're going to stop seeing me just click refresh. I'm going to do something a bit different. Come on, build up. Here we go. So we've got our list of accounts again, as we thought. Our tooling is saying, yeah, cool, you've got your stuff. Let's, oh no. Am I ahead of myself or behind myself? Maybe I've got a step 6. I don't know. Have I got a step 6? No. There's no step 6. I said one last time, we're going to do it again. When we've updated our contact, and just like this gentleman asked, what do we do about syncing? Once I've, so I call in here, update, send my new object back to my encrypted smart store, and then I want to call a sync for this particular table. Of course, you're going to say, right, sync all of my tables that might be 2 hours old, or sync anything where I've got some local records that have been modified. All that kind of exists in there. And that's how we would edit our contact. And that's all the kind of, that's that coding stuff out of the way, which is brilliant. And now we can deploy our app to Salesforce. Fingers crossed this will work. And what we can do from within the app, like I said, each MobileCaddy template comes with a settings area like this with some useful developer tools. So I can say, for example, let me log into the developer area. I can set some connection details. I can tell my app to think that it's offline. I can say, okay, you've got failures back from the platform, so that during development time I can make sure my app is behaving as I want it to. But one of the real cool things is here. So from within the app, I can actually say, hey, yeah, I've finished coding what I want to code now. I want to send it up so the product manager can have a look at it, and they can see how well it's working, or actually it's ready for deployment. And so I hit this deploy to Salesforce, and it's bundled my app up and pushed it up to the cloud, and it's now ready to be used. Although I've just pushed a version that doesn't have edit function, and so we'll see what happens here. And what I've done is I can only deploy to a particular version of the app that's in a developing status, because I don't want to overwrite anything that's obviously in production, so I can't break anything. Heaven forbid, because I definitely do that. And then we can put it on our device. Should we try that? Yeah, let's try that. So what I've got is, I've got a tablet here, which is running this, hopefully not the edit version, in. So I click on MobileCaddy, and you can see I've got exactly the same app as I was building. In fact, you might see that I've got the tabs at the top now instead of the bottom. And this is to do with the Ionic framework has decided that it's going to try and follow platform continuity. So on Android devices, generally the tabs are at the top of native apps, and it's taken care of this for me. So if this was an Apple device, the tabs will be at the bottom instead of the top. That's quite cool. And I've got my account. That's really small, isn't it? That's even smaller than my browser was. But trust me, it says Gene Point at the top. And if I click in there, I can see Edna. And hopefully, because I haven't restarted it, hey, I've got, in fact, did I just, oh yeah, was that me? That was me, brilliant. Hopefully that's right. So what I could do is I can now click edit in here, and this is what would happen on my platform if I'd remembered I'd put a step 6 in, is I now get the email address that I can edit. And what we're going to do, because I can never remember if it's a masochist or a sadist, but I'm going to turn my device offline and try and see if we can do that. So I'm just going to go into flight mode and then put something in here. E. Frank 5. God, she's the 5th Edna Frank in her organisation. That's bum, isn't it? So what I've done is I've edited the record offline. So this is on my tablet here, and it saved it away. So that's all cool. And what we should hopefully be able to see, maybe I can do this in a lot of places, to give us show all the possible debugging that we can do. I've now got the Chrome inspector open for that app, I think, which is, well, it says there's nothing there. Is there? I don't know. Let's see. What we're going to do is we're going to turn the Wi-Fi, the airplane mode off, so my device will come back online, and hopefully we'll see some things happen in here, connected to Wi-Fi. That's a good start. And then my app has been programmed to automatically sync back to the platform when I gain connectivity. So now we can just cross our fingers. Or I can say, oh, look, what's that over there? Quickly. Sugar lumps. Something didn't happen. But that's okay. I can jump into my app in here, and I can say, hey, let's manually sync this. Because Todd. Has it done it? Did I? Hey, you beauty. Right, so yeah, my app's decided now that it's woken up. Brilliant, and it's done its synchronization for me. And on here I can see that it's sunk, I don't know. And what I can do is jump into that particular record in, I don't know which, who am I? This guy here. Is this me? Yeah, this is me. So I can jump straight from there into the record in Salesforce, and it says, hey, look, you've got an update success. I can have a look at the result of that sync, and I can see that one record came up in that particular transaction. I can then jump into this and see that Edna Frank got her 5th email address. Round of applause at this point would be good, because that... honestly, that's too much. You shouldn't. So that's kind of offline working, which is, I'm amazed. And so what's next, really? Well, this was a very rough guide into hopefully quickly hacking away at building offline. And what I didn't do here is I didn't do any authentication or encryption. I didn't worry about how to sync. I didn't worry about any conflict stuff. It was all taken care of me. So I did just a little bit of JavaScript. Now here we go. And what we can now do is we could upversion this application. Marketers might come back and say, hey, yeah, pink's cooler. And say, okay, let's put it in pink. I can then push it up to another version. And I don't know if any of you have submitted to the Apple Store at all? Any apps to the iOS Store? It's an extremely painful process. And I took a video the last time I did this, just for my boss, really, so he could see what really happens. And it goes a bit like this. So, just let it sink in. Bloody Apple. Honestly, nightmare. So, yeah, everyone can go out there. You can get a developer license from us. Start building your offline apps. Remember to be paranoid. Think about these things that are going to trip you up. Oh, yeah, and by doing this, you can create a huge mobile advantage. You can't do these things Salesforce have given us the mobile SDK to allow us to do these things, and what we're doing is building on that and really enabling our partners and consultancies and people like that to get on top of it. And thank you very much.